So why don't you introduce our first guest?
Our first guest is going to be Phil Thibeault. Hi, Phil. Thanks for coming.
Well, Ken.
Phil is running for the Dracut Housing Authority. So, Phil, why don't you start off and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, thank you, Ken and John, for having me here this evening. I'm more than thrilled to be here to get my word out and let people know who I am. I've been in Dracut all my life. I'm an architect by trade. Been practicing registered for the last 15 years. Been in small firms, large firms. I actually even started my own consulting firm for code analysis and design. So it's just been great. I love being in Dracut. When I got married, made sure that my family would be here. My wife loves it, the kids love it. Just really glad to be here.
That's good. I know you've been involved quite a bit in town. As a matter of fact, I think you're on some boards. What are you currently doing?
I'm on a number of boards. About 11 years ago, I started on the planning board as an alternate, to some degree at the request of my former boss. You know, he said, "Phil, you're an architect. You should be more involved in what goes on in your hometown." He had been a member of the planning board and his conservation board, so I sent a letter of interest to Dennis. He interviewed me and thought I was a good fit. Position of the alternate was open, so I started that back in, I believe it was 1999.
On the planning board?
On the planning board. And
Wow.
then within a year, Rosemary had stepped down, and I became a permanent member. And then within 3 years, they all made me chairman.
Wow.
Now, whether I wasn't the one who took the step backwards too, I don't know, but it's been a good run, I think, for the town. I think I've done a very good job as a chairman. I like to try to keep an open mind, run the meetings fairly.
Well, one thing that comes to mind is the Walgreens hearings that you had while you were chairman. I've heard a lot of nice things about how you handled those hearings, so that must have been tedious.
So thank you very much. It was. To be honest, it was probably the hearing I put the most work into. I certainly poured over the master planning that had been done back, I believe, in 1990 or in that time period. Certainly the zoning bylaws, talked with people, went out to the neighborhoods with the entire board in one session, by myself on a number of sessions at different times. I knew it was a hotly contested issue, and certainly it needed a lot of attention. And I know there was an issue at my first meeting where I was accused of cutting people off after 2 hours of information. I know as chairman, from listening on the board, and also as an architect presenting to a board, that typically after 2 hours, you really don't get much more information. It starts to repeat. People start to get kind of edgy.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I decided that we would end that information gathering session there. I know one of the selectmen made an issue that I cut people off.
Well, we know that wasn't true. We were all
No,
watching that.
it wasn't true, but he also suggested that before I started the next meeting that I let the people know what I intended to do. You know, if I was going to be going for 2 hours and then let the people know that I was going to take 2 hours of testimony. And I did that. I thought that was a good suggestion.
Well, I know that you were very lenient and you were very patient. And you're right, there is something to be said, and I'm always for one to say, let them speak as long as they want. It doesn't matter to me until the last person, but you do get into a repetitive mode. One of the things I wanted to ask you, because not a lot of the viewers may know exactly what the planning board does. Give them a little overview of what the planning board does.
Well, a good portion of the work deals with residential developments. If there's a tract of land that an owner or developer wants to subdivide into lots for residential, they do their technical planning, bring it to the board. We review it to see how it coincides with the zoning bylaws. We also use our professional experience and our personal experiences to see if it lays out well, if there's any public safety issues. Our engineering department certainly reviews it for some of the more technical issues of drainage and.
But it's much different than the zoning board of appeals.
It is. the Zoning Board of Appeals, for the most part, deals with almost law. You know, this is what the law is, and they make their application. If a variance is required, they have a much stricter set of codes to go by.
You've also served on the Community Preservation Committee as the appointee from the Planning Board, is that correct?
That's correct. When the Community Preservation Committee started up, I was appointed as the member from the Planning Board. Served on that for 3 years. I believe the last 2 I was chairman. Certainly the last year. I know I was chairman for a short while.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm involved in politics and running for office. I've been involved for a while. When I first moved here to Dracut, I had no intention of running again, and I stayed here for a few years, and the juices started to flow again, and I wanted to get back in. And I was kind of nudged in by a couple of people to run, which I did. But I question, and it's in my blood because it's been in my blood since I was 8 years old. I always question is why would anybody want to run for politics, knowing the kind of bruising battle that you're in for?
Well, you know, that's a very good statement. I was talking to my son a number of months ago, and we were watching a selectmen's meeting, and he came up with that very same question. And I said, well, you know, some people run for the right reasons, some people run for the wrong reasons. You know, the right reasons, of course, are betterment of the town, serving the community. And the wrong reasons, of course, are self-service, you know, trying to promote yourself, get ahead, purely for the sake of getting ahead. And he knew at that time I was contemplating making another election run. So he looked at me squarely and he said, "Why are you running?" And I said, "Good for you for asking that question. I mean, don't trust anybody just on their word, even if you know them. Question them."
So
I said, "I'm running for the good reasons."
So why the Housing Authority? What makes you think about running for that?
Well, again, my experience as an architect certainly works into that. Construction, design, housing, both architecture, both commercially and residentially. I love it. To be honest, I enjoy residential architecture more. Well, typically, there's not a lot of money in it for architects. It's a very hard area to make a living in architecture. I like it because it deals mainly with people. I mean, you're really focused on where they live, how they live, providing them a respect and dignity that they deserve. It's more intricate. I had in college, one of my projects was designing 3 houses. Some of the professors were wondering why I would take such an easy project. That was a project that I learned so much, because if you have a concept, a design concept, and you're trying to focus it on a small building for residential, you can't stray from it because it's noticeable right away. Mm-hmm. Large buildings, you can kind of mask it.
Well, what accomplishments have you had that you're most proud of?
Oh, certainly my marriage of 17 years to my wife,
Good
Lorraine.
answer, good answer, good answer.
My 2 wonderful kids, I mean, they're great boys, Philip and Benjamin. Certainly graduating from Wentworth with a degree in architecture, taking the exams, and passing. It's a 4-day exam period for architects, each day averaging about 12 hours. So it's quite the grueling test that they give you.
We only have a minute left, Phil, so why don't you just tell the voters of Dracut why they should vote for Phil Thibeault for Dracut Housing Authority.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, John. I'd like to keep it brief. As many people know, I'm a man of very few words. I'm Phil Thibeault. I'm an architect with over 15 years of experience. I think I can really put that experience and knowledge to work for the Housing Authority and for our seniors. Please, I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much.